In the last class, we were trying to talk about analysis of finite slopes. We have talked about different methods, like it could be limiting equilibrium method, or it could be your Swedish circle method, or maybe it could be your method of slices. Okay, so these are all different methods that we have talked about. We'll try to take up some couple of problems. So here we are given with an infinite slope. Yeah, we are asked to calculate the maximum permissible slope angle. Okay, for a sandy soil. So the soil what is given is a sandy soil, and what we are asked to find out is the maximum permissible slope angle, how much it can be provided. Having the saturated unit weight of that particular soil to be 20 kilonewton per meter cube, phi dash value of the soil is equal to 30 degrees, and you are not specifically mentioned anything about your C dash value, because simply C dash is simply nothing but it is equal to 0 because it's given as a sandy soil. To give a factor of safety of 1.5. So the factor of safety of that particular slope what I am looking at is 1.5. So particularly it's nothing so much specifically mentioned. It's actually an infinite slope what we are referring to. Okay. So for that infinite slope, which is said to be a sandy soil deposit existing along that infinite slope, for having a factor of safety of 1.5 with unit weight of the soil and phi value of the soil given, I am required to find out what will be the maximum permissible slope angle. So if you can recall the discussion what we had in the case of your infinite slope, we said, okay, let's say this is my infinite slope, and this is something how we assumed our failure surface to be. So we said the angle at which the failure surface is going to be existing is alpha. And in our assumptions regarding the infinite slope analysis, we said the failure surface is assumed to be parallel to that of your ground. Okay, so this is my ground. What I am referring to, this is my ground. And obviously, what is the sloping angle of the ground? So it's nothing but alpha. Yeah. So it's mentioned that the saturated unit weight of this soil is 20 kilonewton per meter cube. The phi dash value of the soil is given as 30 degrees. C dash value is simply equal to 0. And for factor of safety equal to 1.5, under two conditions, you are required to calculate what could be your alpha angle that is permissible to have a factor of safety of 1.5. So in case 1, it is said that the slope is dry. Okay, when we say the slope is dry, it means that there is no effect of water table. Water table is either on or below the position of your failure surface. Okay, so the position of water table is simply equal to 0. So if the position of water table is simply equal to 0, if you can go back to the expressions what we have discussed about your infinite slope, this is the expression what we had with no effect of water table, if I am correct, right? Yeah, infinite slope. So with no effect of water table, the expression for factor of safety is what we have like this. That is C dash plus gamma into H into cos square alpha into tan phi dash divided by gamma into H into sin alpha into cos alpha. And here the condition is the C dash value of the soil is equal to 0. Once the C dash value of the soil is equal to 0, the expression for factor of safety is nothing but tan phi by tan alpha. Okay. So our objective is to find out what is your alpha angle given the factor of safety and given your phi dash value. Okay. So I can simply go on to substitute into this expression of factor of safety, where factor of safety is equal to tan phi or phi dash by tan alpha. So we can go back to simply substitute into the expression what we have here in the problem. So factor of safety is equal to tan phi dash by tan alpha. So from this I can say tan alpha is equal to tan phi dash by factor of safety, which is given as 1.5, and we know what is your phi dash value. So I can quickly go on to substitute your phi dash into the expression. So if I substitute your phi dash into the expression, so tan alpha is equal to tan what is phi dash? Phi dash is 30 degrees. Okay, so tan 30 degrees by 1.5, and from here I am going to determine what is my alpha angle, 21 degrees. Okay, so this is in the case of first condition when your slope is dry. And coming to your second condition, so what is the second condition referring to? the slope is fully saturated with water table at the ground surface. So in the case 2, we are saying that the water table is at the ground surface. When the water table is at the ground surface, if you can recall, from the failure surface, we were saying the height at which your water table exists is h. And we have also said that the depth of the soil layer in which we are trying to talk about this infinite slope analysis is capital H. Okay. So your small h is nothing but it is equal to capital H because the water table is at your ground surface. The expression for factor of safety. Okay. So we know what is the saturated unit weight of the soil. Okay. So gamma dash, which is called as your submerged unit weight. So submerged unit weight is nothing but your saturated unit weight minus the unit weight of water into tan phi dash divided by gamma sat into tan alpha. So ultimately here, once again, what we are required to calculate is alpha angle. Okay. So if I want to find out what is the alpha angle, then I can say tan alpha is nothing but gamma sat is 20 minus gamma w is 9.81 into tan 30 degrees divided by saturated unit weight is 20 into factor of safety. Okay. So because tan alpha I am taking onto the left side, so factor of safety comes onto the right side in the denominator. So what is my factor of safety that I am referring to? It is 1.5. Yeah. So what comes out to be my alpha angle in this case? 11.09 degrees is going to be the alpha angle. And if you understand here, so what we see is that because of the rise in water level till the ground surface, the slope what you can have from your the inclination or the slope angle what you can have for your infinite slope to give you a factor of safety of 1.5, the slope angle maximum can be equal to only 11.09 degrees. If alpha is anything more than 11.09 degrees, it means that you are not going to have a factor of safety for that infinite slope which is equal to 1.5. Rather, the factor of safety of that particular slope is going to be less than 1.5. And further increase in alpha angle indicates that there could be certainly a situation where your critical failure condition would exist, and further increase in alpha could result in the failure of that particular infinite slope. Okay. So let's quickly go on with another problem. What is given here? An infinite slope is shown in the figure. The position of water table is 2 meters below the ground surface. Determine the change in factor of safety of the slope if water table is brought to a depth of 4 meters below the surface. So here I have two conditions. First condition is when the water table is 2 meters below the ground surface. Second condition is when the water table is further getting decreased by 2 more meters. It means from the ground surface, in second case, the water table position is at 4 meters below the ground surface. Okay. So in such case, in case 1, I'll get some factor of safety. In case 2, with water table at 4 meters below the ground surface, I'll get some factor of safety. And I'm required to find out how much is the change in your factor of safety of that particular slope because of the change in position of your water table. Okay. So final factor of safety minus initial factor of safety. If I try to calculate, I'm going to get how much is my change in factor of safety that we are going to have for that particular slope. I understand that alpha angle what is given for this problem is 15 degrees. Phi dash is given, C dash is given, saturated unit weight is also given. So let me quickly go on to write down the expression for factor of safety. So according to case 1 or case 2, expression for factor of safety will not get changed because the water table is not below the failure surface or it's not exactly at your ground surface. So water table is in both the cases is in between your ground surface and your failure surface. So this was the expression what we have in case if the water table is neither at the ground or neither at your failure surface. So factor of safety expression is very clear. So in case 1, what we know is that small h is nothing but is equal to how much? In case 1, the small h value is how much? Because we are defining the position of water table in our previous expressions. If you can recall, the small h value was defined from the failure surface. Okay. So from the failure surface, where is the position of your water table? So that is what we call it as your small h. In condition 1, what is the value of small h? 4 meters. So small h is 4 meters in case 1. So with small h is equal to 4 meters, C dash value is already given 10 kilopascal. Gamma sat, wherever you have gamma, it indicates it's the saturated unit weight what we are referring to, because the condition of the soil is said to be saturated. So what is this saturated unit weight? I think 18 kilonewton per meter cube. Phi dash is equal to 20 degrees and alpha is equal to 15 degrees. Okay. So my phi dash value is equal to 20 degrees and the alpha is equal to 15 degrees. This is the data what we have, and simply we go on to substitute these numbers into the expression what we have, and capital H, that is the height of that infinite soil layer in which the failure is expected to happen, which we are looking at, is 6 meters. Okay. So all the data is very much given here itself in the problem. It's a simple substitution what we are supposed to be doing. The factor of safety is equal to 10 plus gamma sat is 18 into height is 6 into cos square 15 degrees minus the small h is 4 into cos square 15 degrees into 9.81. This total into tan 20 degrees. This all divided by gamma sat is 18 into 6 into sine 15 degrees into cos 15 degrees. This is the expression what we have. Value for factor of safety. Right. So in case 1, I have got my factor of safety. In case 2, if I am going to calculate my factor of safety, all the other data remains the same, but in case 2, when we are looking at, my h value is nothing but it is equal to 2 meters from the failure surface, because the water table is at 4 meters from the ground. It indicates that from the failure surface it is just only 2 meters. So with this data, if I go on to substitute only just small h is equal to 2 meters, what will be that I'll be getting for factor of safety? 1.481. Okay. So once we know the factor of safety in case 1 and case 2, therefore change in factor of safety is equal to factor of safety what you are getting in case 2 minus the factor of safety what you are getting in case 1. Okay. So what was the factor of safety which you had in your case 2? That is 1.481 minus 1.235. So because of the change in position of the water table, I understand that there is a change in factor of safety value, which is 0.246 if I am correct. Okay. So that much change in factor of safety you are coming across with because of the change in position of your water table. Okay. So let's move on with another problem. Determine the factor of safety of the cohesive slope shown in the figure for the following 2 cases. Okay. So it's a finite slope what is given to us, and we are given with certain data related to that particular finite slope, and we are asked to calculate what is the factor of safety of that particular cohesive slope. Cohesive slope in the sense only C value is existing, whereas the phi value of that particular soil is equal to 0. Okay. So there are 2 cases. One case refers to that of no tension crack getting developed in that particular soil, in that slope. And in second case, it says that 2 meters depth tension crack, that too filled with water. Okay. So let's quickly go back to the case what we have talked about, your finite slope analysis based on your Swedish circle method, in which you had this fundamental discussion which we have come across with. Okay. So with no tension crack, I repeat, with no tension crack, where only C value is existing for the finite slope, phi value is equal to 0, what was our expression for factor of safety? Okay. With no tension crack, this is the condition what we have. It is said that C is non-zero and the phi value of the soil is equal to 0. And if you look at this particular problem more clearly, the unit weight of the complete soil, what is contained in that particular zone of failure is 17.75 kilonewton per meter cube. Unit weight of the soil throughout is same, but the undrained cohesion value, the Cu value of the soil below the AD line, above the AD line. Where is that AD line? Look at here. From the toe portion of your slope, yeah, this horizontal line, what I am defining is nothing but we are calling it as your AD line. Okay. So above the AD line, the Cu value is 21.5 kilopascal. And below the AD line, the Cu value is 33.5 kilopascal. So because of which, what would happen is the cohesion value, what you are going to be considering when the failure surface is in between A to D dash, this region, A to D dash region. When the failure surface you are looking at between A to D dash, the cohesion value, what I should be considering in writing my expression is Cu equal to 33.5 kilopascal. And when I am looking at the failure surface for the rest part of the region, that is going from D dash to point B. Okay, from D dash point to point B, from D dash to B, the C value, that's the Cu value, what I should be considering is 21.5 kilopascals in your expression. Okay, so please do substitute your values carefully. Yeah, so what is given here particularly is the Cu value below AD line is 33.5 kilopascal. And the Cu value what you have above AD line is 21.5 kilopascal. And the bulk unit weight of the soil is given as 17.75 kilonewton, not kilopascal, kilonewton per meter cube. Okay, so with this certain information known, let me go on to first write down what is the expression for factor of safety. So here in this expression, if you look at C, here is nothing but it's the undrained cohesion. What does R indicate? R indicates the radius at which your failure surface is existing from the center about which the failure plane is defined. Theta indicates the angle what you are trying to define within that particular slip surface for that portion of the slip surface. And W here indicates the weight of the soil which is trying to undergo the failure. And X bar indicates the CG distance. Okay, what is the CG distance? From the CG point of your weight, what you are representing, which is undergoing the failure, to that of your center. Okay, so let me quickly look at my figure once again. So my CG distance, that is your X bar distance, is nothing but it is 3.1 meters. Okay, so from the line of axis of your weight, from the line of action of your force W, the center, the so-called let's say point O, is at a distance of 3.1 meters. So my X bar is nothing but it is simply equal to 3.1 meters. And what I am interested in calculating is the weight W. So how do I calculate my weight W? Okay, so let me go on to write down this expression further more in a simpler form. I'll write it as Cu1 into R square theta plus Cu2 into R square theta. In case if the radius of the failure surface, I repeat, in case if the radius of the failure surface for the failure plane defined from point A to D dash, if the radius is different, and from D dash to B, if the radius of the failure surface is different, then my expression should also be accordingly written as Cu1 into R1 square into, this is theta 1, which I'll be, okay, should I write it as theta 1? What was the notation here? Okay. Yeah, so theta 1 is for the region going from D dash to B. Theta 2 angle is defined for the region going from A to D dash. Okay. So this is, yeah. So instead of writing it as specifically Cu1, Cu2, I don't want to confuse you. I'll write it something like this. A to D dash region, and this is D dash to B region. This total divided by weight of the soil. How do we write down the weight of the soil? Weight of the soil is nothing but the unit weight of the soil. It's the bulk unit weight of the soil, what is given, into the volume of the soil, into X bar. Now, what is the volume of the soil is equal to? Volume of the soil is nothing but area of cross section of the soil which is undergoing the failure for every 1 unit width in this particular direction. So I'll go on to substitute all my terms into that expression. So let's quickly understand. The first term, Cu into R square into theta for the soil where the failure surface is existing in between point A to D dash. Okay. So when I am looking for the failure surface going from point A to D dash, what is the C value corresponding to the failure surface? What is the C value existing along that particular failure surface in between the point A to D dash? So the C value is nothing but 33.5 kilopascal. And what is the R value? R value is given as 12 meters. And what is the angle that is getting formed between point A to D dash? The angle what is getting formed with respect to the center for the failure plane defined between the point A to D dash, the angle formed is 35 degrees. Okay, the theta angle is 35 degrees. So let me go on to substitute those numbers into the expression. This is 33.5 into R square, which is 12 square into theta. Theta, what I am going to be substituting has to be substituted in terms of radians. So how do I convert your angle 35 degrees into radians? So it is 35 into pi by 180 gives me what is that angle 35 degrees in the process of converting into radians. Plus, now the second term which is Cu into R square theta is for the failure plane going from D dash point to B point. Okay, so for D dash point to B point, what is the cohesion value existing for that soil? Cu is 21.5 kilopascal. The angle what was getting formed to define the failure surface between D dash point to point B is 40 degrees, and the radius of that failure surface is once again 12 meters. Okay, so I'll go on to write down my expression further. This is 21.5 into 12 square into 40 into pi by 180. This total divided by, unit weight of the soil is 17.75 kilonewton per meter cube into the volume. How do I write down the volume? Volume is nothing but the area of the total region of the soil which is undergoing the failure. So what is the area of your total soil which is undergoing the failure? So soil going from A till B, coming back to C, and then back to A. Okay, so area of the soil enclosed between A to B, C, and back to A. Okay, so that means this total region. So what is the area of that total region given as? Area of ABCA is nothing but given as 90 meters square. Okay, so area is known for every unit width in the direction perpendicular to the screen is what we consider. Okay, so what's the value? 90 meters square. It is 90 into 1 into X bar. So what is my X bar value which is given in this particular problem is 3.1. Okay. So I can write down here X bar is nothing but it is 3.1 meters in this particular problem. This is 3.1. 1.03. The value for factor of safety in this condition with no tension crack comes out to be equal to 1.03. And the second case, what is the second case given in the problem? It is said that you have what is called as a 2 meter deep tension crack filled with water. I repeat, the 2 meter tension crack filled with water. When the tension crack is filled with water, then your so-called failure surface, what you are going to be defining with respect to the zone is only till here, because your tension crack was extending from here to here. Okay, so subsequently it is given that earlier the theta1 angle was 40 degrees, but because of the tension crack what got developed, that so-called failure plane angle what you are defining between D dash point to that let's say B dash point, or that subsequent point is given as 38 degrees. Okay, so let's quickly go on to write down how much is your, it's already given, the depth of your tension crack is nothing but it is equal to 2 meters in the problem. Look at here. So the depth of the tension crack is already given as 2 meters in your problem. So let's go on to write down the expression for factor of safety. So quickly look at the expression and please make note of the expression what we have based on which we can try to find out what is your factor of safety. So my expression for factor of safety is nothing but C into theta2. So please don't note it as theta2 because there theta2 is not a single angle what you have in the problem, because in the problem the complete failure surface is defined with two different regions of the failure surface, going from A to D dash and D dash to the other point B dash which I have marked. Okay, so in such case I'll try to write it clearly subsequently. So note it as C into theta into r square divided by W into x or x bar plus half into gamma W into ht square into h plus 2/3 of ht. Okay, so what is your ht means? Ht indicates the depth of your tension crack, and what does h indicate? H indicates above the ground surface. Okay, this is your h value. So above the ground surface, at what vertical distance your point O was existing. So that is what is nothing but we call it as your h distance. So quickly please make a note of this particular expression so that we can go back to substitute your terms into this expression. So factor of safety, C into theta into r square divided by W into x or x bar plus half into gamma W ht square h plus 2/3 of t. This is the expression what we have. In this expression, we know that ht is given as 2 meters. H in this particular case is given as 4 meters. So let me go on to look at my problem. Picture what is given. So this 4 meters is nothing but small h. This 2 meters is nothing but ht. All the other things which we have already seen earlier. So I am just writing down my expression further in a simpler form. So which is nothing but Cu into theta into r square for the region of the soil failure surface going from point A to D dash plus Cu into theta into r square for the portion of the soil which is going from D dash to B dash divided by W into x bar plus half into gamma W into ht square into h plus 2/3 of ht. This is my expression. So Cu for the region going from A to D dash was 33.5 into the theta value for the region A to D dash was 35 degrees. Okay, let me put it as degrees. In the earlier expression, I think I have simply wrote it as 35. Yeah, so it is degrees. So because of the conversion of degree into radians, we are multiplying it with pi into 180. Okay, so into pi by 180, sorry, not pi into 180, it is pi by 180 into r square is 12 square. So this is for the region A to D dash, and subsequently for the region going from D dash to B dash. So my Cu value was 21.5 into the theta value is given as 38 degrees. It's not 40 degrees like earlier. So in case 2 problem, it is given only as 38 degrees. I'm converting into radians by multiplying it with pi by 180 into 12 square. This I have got for the region going from D dash to B dash. This total divided by the weight of the soil is the unit weight of the soil, which is 17.75 into the volume of the soil. So what is the volume of the soil is equal to? Volume of the soil is nothing but the area of the soil, which is given as 90 into for every 1 unit width in this direction into x bar. What is x bar? X bar is nothing but 3.1 plus half into 9.81 into ht square is 2 square, this into H is 4 plus 2/3 of 2. Value of factor of safety 0.988. So the factor of safety what you are getting because of that tension crack and subsequently the tension crack getting filled with water. So the factor of safety is coming out to be 0.988. So which indicates that the slope is unstable. Earlier when there was no effect of tension crack, so your factor of safety of the slope was 1.03. So this also it says that the factor of safety is of the slope is critical only. The slope is critically stable only because it is almost approximately equal to 1. Okay, but whereas because of the tension crack what got developed, yes, your slope is no more going to be stable and the slope is said to be undergoing the failure. Okay. In the fourth unit, when I was trying to talk about the shear strength of the soils, I forgot about some particular topic, that is liquefaction. Let me give you an idea about what does this word liquefaction mean. So what does liquefaction mean? Liquefaction indicates the so-called material what I am trying to look at is in a liquid state. Now, what is that material which we are trying to look at is in a liquid state. So I am trying to talk about the soil. Soil as a material is what I am looking at. When does the soil gets liquefied? And why do we see this phenomena of liquefaction coming into picture in your soils? Okay, why does the soil gets liquefied? Soil gets liquefied whenever the shear strength of the soil is becoming 0. I repeat. So whenever the shear strength of the soil is becoming 0, we say the soil is getting liquefied. In the other way, I can say the shear strength, that so-called effective shear strength of the soil is becoming 0 whenever the soil is said to be undergoing what is called as liquefaction. When do we say the effective shear strength of the soil, the effective stress developed in that particular soil is becoming 0? Whenever the pore water pressures what are getting developed in the soil, okay, whenever your pore water pressures that are getting developed in that particular soil is equating your amount of total stress that is getting developed in the soil. Okay, so this implies sigma minus u is equal to 0, therefore sigma is equal to u. So this says that whenever u is tending to become equal to your total stress value, whenever your u value becomes equal to the total stress what is existing in that particular soil, then we say your effective stress developed in that particular soil is becoming 0, and once the effective stress developed in that particular soil is becoming 0, then automatically the shear strength of that particular soil is going to be 0. Sir, is it true always that whenever effective stress is equal to 0, will the shear strength of the soil become 0? I don't know. Let's understand that. Tau is equal to C dash plus sigma dash tan phi dash. What did I say? Whenever your pore water pressure developed in the soil is becoming equal to that of your normal stress, then whenever your normal stress is nothing but equal to the pore water pressure, so we said effective stress is becoming 0. If effective stress is 0, does it mean the shear stress developed in that particular soil or the shear strength of the soil is 0? Not exactly. Shear strength existing or shear strength developed in that particular soil is nothing but it is equal to the cohesion value of that soil. So here, whenever the soil has got cohesion between the particles for that particular soil in which cohesive property exists, though your pore water pressure is becoming equal to that of your total stress, your effective strength of the soil or your shear strength of the soil is not going to become 0. In case if the soil is cohesionless, if the soil, what I am trying to look at, if it is said to be a cohesionless soil, then what happens? For that cohesionless soil, C dash value is equal to 0. When the C dash value is equal to 0, what is going to happen to the shear strength of that particular soil? Shear strength of the soil is becoming 0. So this so-called phenomena of liquefaction is what we generally come across in the case of your sandy soil deposits. Okay, so in the case of sandy soil deposits, as the cohesion between the particles do not exist, there could be a situation where the pore water pressure what is getting developed in that particular sandy soil, when it approximately equals to that of the amount of total stress that is existing in the soil, then we say the effective stress developed in that particular soil is 0. And once the effective stress developed in the soil is 0, then automatically the shear strength of that particular soil is 0. Sir, practically, is it possible that in the case of sandy soil, do we come across with a situation where pore water pressures are increasing so much to become equal to that of your total stress in the soil? Yes, there could be certain situations where, though the soil what you are talking about is sandy soil, the size of the void is relatively large for the water to escape easily. Excess pore water pressures which are getting developed in that sandy soil can easily get dissipated out. But what is going to happen is, whenever you have sudden impact loads, or whenever you have some earthquake loading conditions coming into picture, whenever you have some earthquake loading, or whenever you have some impact loads, repeated impact loads that you are applying on the ground, there could be some possibility that because of that impact loads what you are trying to induce in the ground, or because of that sudden earthquake forces, whenever there is an earthquake would at most prevail for some couple of seconds. So in that couple of seconds itself, a huge amount of energy is released in the ground. And because of that huge amount of energy which is released in the ground, your water particle which is there in the void spaces of the sandy soil may not have that much sufficient time. I said couple of seconds, milliseconds, in which your earthquake force is coming into picture. So in that small fraction of time, your water particle may not get dissipated out of the soil. Excess pore water pressure dissipation may not happen. So what is going to happen? As the earthquake force is increasing, because of which the pore water pressure which is getting developed in that sandy soil continuously increases, reaches to what is called as your total stress of that particular soil. And whenever your pore water pressure equates to that of the amount of total stress existing in the soil, then the effective stress developed in that soil becomes 0. And once that effective stress developed in that sandy soil, I'm talking about sandy soil, not in your clayey soil deposits. Why not in the clayey soil deposits? Sir, in the case of clayey soil deposits also the same phenomena could happen. No. Yes. But however, in the case of clayey soil deposits, cohesion between particle to particle would exist, because of which the shear strength of the soil will not approximately become 0. But when it comes to the case of sandy soil, cohesion between the particles is not existing, and sigma dash value is becoming 0. So as C dash is 0, sigma dash is 0, automatically the shear strength of that soil is becoming 0. Okay, this so-called phenomena of liquefaction we are going to be talking about in sandy soil deposits because of what is called as your earthquake loading or sudden impact loads. Because of this earthquake loading or sudden impact loads, you would come across with a situation in sandy soil deposits where the shear strength of the soil is becoming 0. Whenever the shear strength of the soil is becoming 0, then the soil almost behaves like what is called as a liquid material, because liquid is only a material which has got the shear strength value equal to 0. So the soil which was very strong before is now more or less behaving like a liquid material. So because of that, the structure which is existing over that particular ground which got liquefied now, you will not be seeing the structure standing there. Why? Once the soil becomes like a liquid, the liquid material will not stay below the ground, because the soil above the liquid zone will start moving in the downward direction. This liquid starts getting pumped out of the ground, and what you see is that structure which is there above the ground or the structure which is there at the ground surface will no more remain there. Rather, it starts sinking into the ground, or it starts rotating, and you would subsequently see the failure getting initiated in your structures existing on such particular grounds. Okay. So we have to take sufficient care to understand whether your soil existing in that particular zone is prone to liquefaction or not. In case if that particular soil in that zone is prone to liquefaction, then we have got different remedial methods by which you can ensure the safety of that particular soil against the liquefaction. Okay, there are different ground improvement techniques that are available by which you can modify the ground characteristics at that particular location where the soil is prone to liquefaction. So by modifying that ground condition, yes, you can try to minimize the effect of liquefaction there, and automatically you can ensure to design a proper structure to be withstanding even that earthquake loading conditions. Okay, so this is some important topic which I thought I have missed in my earlier discussion of the 4th unit, that is shear strength of the soils. In which case I should go on to analyze my slope taking into consideration of total stress parameters or your effective stress parameters. Okay, so that's all about whether you are analyzing that slope on a short-term stability basis or on a long-term stability basis. Short-term stability basis means immediately after the construction of that slope, if you want to understand or if you want to know the behavior of that particular slope, then I'm going to analyze that particular slope based on your short-term stability criterion parameters. If it is a long-term analysis in the sense the slope is constructed now, but after 10 years, after 20 years, how does the behavior of this slope is going to be? If I want to know that, then there I am going to make use of your parameters of the soil which are relative to that of your long-term aspect of that particular slope. So let's quickly understand what is that short-term analysis, how is it different from that your long-term stability analysis. So typically it could be the analysis of the slope corresponding to short-term or long-term. What we generally see is whenever you are talking about a slope, say for example an earthen dam. So typically earthen dam is constructed by your clayey material which is having very low permeability. And how do we construct that particular earthen dam or earthen embankment? So we place the soil in layers, we compact it for the corresponding OMC value of that particular soil for the amount of compacting effort that you are putting in, and in the form of layers you compact it and you achieve the required height for that particular slope. Once the construction of that slope is completed, if you are trying to analyze the stability of the slope immediately after construction, I repeat, if you are analyzing the stability of the slope immediately after the construction, then we take into consideration of what is called as your undrained conditions prevailing in that particular soil, because immediately after the construction of the embankment you don't expect the soil to have a complete consolidation process to be finished in that soil. Okay, so that's the reason why immediately after the construction of that slope we do take into consideration what is generally called as your undrained conditions in the soil. And if I consider the undrained condition, so subsequently the shear strength parameters what are to be taken in the analysis of your slope is undrained shear strength parameters, that is your Cu and Φu values are to be used in the slope stability analysis, which is said to be short-term stability analysis, because immediately after the construction, if you want to know how the behavior of that slope is going to be there, so as the slope or the embankment or your dam is mostly in undrained condition, so you should take your undrained shear strength parameters of the soil, which you have determined either from what is called as your UU test or sometimes from that of your CU test. So when do I need to take it in the case of CU test? If your so-called process of construction of the embankment is at a slower rate, construction of the embankment took let's say some couple of years, then in such case the shear strength parameters, mostly what you can consider there, would be as similar to that of the C5 values which you have got from your CU test. Or most, if the construction of the embankment is a rapid construction at a very faster rate, if it is constructed, then you can get the C5 parameters from your UU test, and that C5 parameters can be used for the analysis of your slope. Okay. So we are going to be making use of, in the short-term analysis, we are going to be making use of your total unit weight of the soil. That is a bulk unit weight of the soil we are going to be considering, and that short-term analysis is, rather we also call it as your total stress analysis. And in this total stress analysis, your pore water pressure, what is getting developed in that particular soil, is obviously dependent on your amount of stresses that are getting induced in that particular soil. Okay, depending on the amount of stress what you are applying, amount of pore water pressure what would be getting developed would depend on, in the case of your short-term analysis. In the long-term analysis, irrespective of how much stress that you are trying to induce in the soil, as it is a long-term, that so-called consolidation process would have been completed in that particular soil. So your pore water pressures which are building up in the soil would be independent of your amount of stress that you are trying to, or amount of stresses that you are increasing on the soil would not exactly replicate the condition of your change in pore water pressures in the case of your long-term stability analysis. So the same thing, let us quickly understand. So in the case of your long-term stability analysis, the stability of the slope what we are carrying out is after a long term, right after the completion of the construction. So after a long term after the construction, we are going to be analyzing that particular slope. We are trying to understand the condition of the slope after a long period of time. How is it going to be? That's what we are predicting. So after a long term, if I say after a long time, after the construction of the embankment or the dam, if I am analyzing the slope, then we consider the drained conditions, because complete consolidation process would have completed in that particular soil. So the corresponding C5 parameters what we are going to be using in the analysis are your drained parameters, which you might have obtained from your CD test more specifically, or from your CU test with the pore water pressure measurements that you have determined. And subsequently, that particular stress analysis, long-term stability analysis of the slope is otherwise also called as your effective stress analysis. Why do we call it as effective stress analysis? Because your pore water pressures what are getting developed in that soil would have been, excess pore water pressures would have been dissipated because the complete consolidation process would have happened in that particular soil because of the loads which are coming onto that particular slope. Okay, so this is something what we really need to know. Like say, it's not just about constructing an embankment or a slope is not just sufficient enough. Understanding the stability of that particular slope immediately after construction and right after construction, and after some longer period of time after the construction, I should know how the behavior of the slope is going to be. So I have to analyze that particular slope, taking into consideration of your time factor. Time factor in the sense, immediately after construction, after a long period of time after the construction, how does the behavior of your slope would change? Will the factor of safety increasing? Will the factor of safety decreasing? I should understand that. So when I am designing a slope, the slope has to be designed in a way that it is safe in a short-term period as well as in a long-term period. In a long-term period also. Long-term period means any structure that you are designing will have a specified design period. So till that design period, your structure what you are designing has to be safe. So that is what you are going to be understanding from what is called as short-term stability analysis of the slope and long-term stability analysis of your slope. Okay, so this is all about your soil mechanics course on a whole, and thank you all for your patience listening throughout the course, and hope I have made the course as simple as possible in making you learn it in a better way.